just entered this building, we came through the second story entryway right there. Went down some stairs. And now you're at the original first floor. Below your feet is the beach I was talking about with all the sawdust and the sewage. If you look over here, these are the storefront windows to the building. And we're looking out the window straight ahead to a retaining wall that's holding up the street. So the streets have been raised up around the buildings for 33 blocks after the fire. I'll explain it more when we get to the top. But before we leave here, I'm going to tell you how the town burns down. Can you see this from over there? Are you okay? All right. Oldest photo we have is Seattle's 1865. Look at the drainage problem in the street as you walk around. If you see wood, it means it showed up later. 4 blocks to the north, June 6th, 1889. A cabinet maker's shop. Inside the shop on that day, a very unfortunate apprentice. His name is John Beck. He's melting down a brick of glue. He had one job. Melt down brick of glue into a metal pot over an open flame. 2:15 p.m. He forgot about it. It boils over, it catches on fire, it splatters to the ground below. This wouldn't have been too bad had the ground not been littered with wood chips soaked in turpentine.
Oh.
Yeah, then he panics. He grabs a bucket of water to throw on top of the grease fire. What happens when you add water to a grease fire? You know this one? Yeah, it gets worse. What does he do next, you think?
Grab some more water.
He runs. But if he was from Tacoma, he would try more water. Yeah. Above the cabinet maker shop, there was a paint shop. Next door, a hardware store. Now this is a Pioneer hardware store, so it had dynamite, it had ammunition. Across the street, this is true, a saloon, which only the night before had received a shipment of 50 oak barrels filled with whiskey. So now, the fire is drunk and it's armed. Seattle sends in the volunteer fire crew to fight its very first fire. Fire chief is with his best men that day. They're in San Francisco. They're at a convention on how to prevent your city from burning down. These guys learn pretty quick. When you add more than one hose to the water line, the pressure in the system, it drops to 0. They had no water to fight the fire. They couldn't figure out the water pressure. Then somebody said, well, why don't we do a bucket brigade? Puget Sound's right over here. The tide was out. They couldn't reach the water. So eventually they throw everything down. They go to the top of the bluff to the east with everybody else, and they watch the city burn. So the fire puts itself out after about 12 hours, takes out 33 city blocks. They think about 1 million rats burn in the fire. And the craziest stat, 0 human fatalities. Nobody dies. Not even the apprentice. I thought someone would take him out that night. So and that's why they call it the Great Seattle Fire. Nobody dies, and it gives them a chance to fix everything, all the problems, start over again. Now, 2 things before we leave the room. The next photo is the day after the Great Fire. When you all walk by, you can look at it closer. It's so hot, the trolley ties are buckling in the foreground. So it was bending, twisting metal, and nobody died. Next to that, inside the alcove, it's the pinnacle of the tour. Everybody calm down. Original crapper from the Thomas Crapper factory. Don't use it, just look at it. I don't trust this group, you're going to try to use it. After that, you follow me. Hope you like rats. So this is the outside of the building. You're looking back in through the windows to the inside. Don't use it. Day after fire. It's pretty crazy. City officials tell the merchants, go back to your plots. Okay, you can build again. This time, no more wood. Turns out wood's a bad idea. At least 2 stories to every building that you put up. At least 2. And understand this, eventually the first story will become the basement. So that's the level behind you right there. Second story is going to turn into the first story and the main entry before all is said and done. While you're busy raising your properties, the buildings, middle of every block, we, the city, we're going to raise our property, the streets. After we finish raising solid streets up around every block, and you finish raising buildings in the center, then we're gonna bridge the gaps between the two with new sidewalks. So that's what's above your head, it's a new sidewalk, from the top of every street to the second story of every building. Is everyone thoroughly confused at this point? Yeah, that's tricky, right? So behind me, retaining wall. It's holding up this side of the street. There's another one of these on the opposite side. Every street down here is flanked by a retaining wall. It wraps around all the blocks like that. In between the walls, they pack the street solid with whatever they can find. So over the years, when they go outside the streets, they found horse carcasses, wagon wheels, they found a rowboat one time. I'm sure there's humans in there. But mostly, it's dirt from the bluff that they washed out. The point of the entire project, in the center of every new street, they put a new sewer pipe. So that's how they get above the beach. It's a lot more built up. It's still before the fire because everything's made out of wood and you can always tell pre-fire. At the time the photo's taken, Seattle's looking for a new way to make some more money. What they stumble upon, it ends up paying for this when the town burns down a couple of years later. People always ask me that, where'd they get money for brick and stone? They're bringing in masons and engineers. So here's what happened. A couple of years before the fire, the Seattle police chief, along with the mayor, decided they're gonna come and scout out this area. This is where the loggers and the miners and the sailors hang out. They're always up to no good after work. They're gonna find out what's going on. Concrete down below. That's where a lot of the concrete comes into play. Below your feet. Block the top and the bottom off. And they said, for every rat tail you bring to City Hall, we're gonna give you 10 cents. They put a bounty on rat.
I was just trying to focus on the washing machine.